Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I would like to present to you the topic of a sustainable urban future. And I actually subtitled my presentation today to From Smart to Responsive. And I would, during my presentation, I will elaborate a little bit more on this concept. So just to start off, when we think about the ideal city we want to live in, we usually think about quality of life. We think about the cities that are that provide the citizens a very good environment to work, to live, that has culture, that has different urban spaces where we can live. And this is usually like an ideal situation. And also different cities that also provide a good balance between the whole city life and also urban spaces that provide green areas that you can walk, that you can cycle, and you can walk around and so on. So this is usually like when you ask citizens, this is usually what they really look for for living in a city. So just to back off a little bit and think about from the urban planning perspective, what are the ideas or what are the different elements that cities look into when they plan their cities. We could basically see three different aspects. The first one is that cities and city planners, they make decisions, but based on diverse stakeholders. So this is very important for cities where they can integrate not only the views of the citizens, but also the views of different stakeholders, different companies, different actors around the city. Then another aspect is gathering knowledge is ideal. It's an ideal situation where cities can have more information about how they can develop, and not only information within the city, but also benchmarking themselves with cities around the world, what's going on, and so on. And also the sustainability goals around the world and the different digital transformation challenges and so on. And then the third one is into this idea of a more smart and digital era to develop tools and methods to make more inclusive decision making and to manage and to govern the cities. So this is basically three main aspects. Of course, there are many other, but from a general point of view, these are three many important parts. And all of this towards building cities that work. So this is actually very general. This is the idea of having cities that are inclusive, that are safe, that are resilient, and of course that are sustainable. And this is an idea or an ideal that many cities have around the world. But there are of course many challenges around it. So it's not that simple and straightforward. And we also have to think back and think to ourselves, why is this important? So why are these all aspects important when planning cities and for the city governance? And one of the main aspects that we've been talking about since the past probably 10 years is the whole idea that more and more people are living in cities. And the population living in urban areas are increasing by the year. And nowadays in many countries around the world, there's more than 50% of the people already living in cities, which brings a lot of challenges for the cities. And also the forecast, it's going more and more. So it is really going towards almost all population around the world living in cities. And this, of course, brings a lot of challenges. Just from the point of view of the urban growth and the change of family patterns, increase of residency and the slums, the change of the climate change, insecurity, like all different aspects and challenges that cities have to take into consideration. And these are all aspects that are increasing by the day and by the moment that more people are moving into the cities. And of course, also cities around the world have the different agendas that they develop different transformation aspects in their cities with different things that are coming up, as I mentioned, the challenges before. And more nowadays, with all the information and communication technology that is coming to the city, and this whole idea of the smart city and how it could be used as a tool and as a method to overcome all of these challenges. And this has been a topic that every city is very interested in, because it has become a tool to be able to go through all of these challenges. And then at this point, in the past, we saw the aspect of the concept of smart cities more as something in the future, but nowadays it's already here. There's different ways of describing what a smart city is, but whatever description and definition you give to the smart cities, it's already here. So it's a city that it's interconnected, that all citizens are connected, that uses sensors, that uses data collection for doing analytics, optimization, and all of these different aspects. So it has become a tool. And of course, it's a tool that has developed very rapidly, as many technologies are doing nowadays. So it's also very sensitive how this is becoming in the center, and it has to have a little bit more of attention from the people that are developing these technologies and the people that are using these technologies. So we see the smart city mainly as using technology for increasing living standards and making informed decisions with all of this advanced technology and collecting vast amounts of data. But here the question is that we also see challenges within this whole concept of smart cities, security and privacy, and all of these coming challenges that are very sensitive, and that planners and city government has to take more into consideration. And what we want, we want to overcome this or take it to the next level, and to take it to something a bit more responsive. So we can say that we could develop a responsive city. And this is actually a hypothesis that we had while I was working at ETH and at the Future Cities Laboratory in Singapore, that we wanted to convey a new message of the city of the future. And we wanted to explore the responsive cities, which is basically based on the smart city technology, but it places again the human in the center of the development. So it really takes attention into the human aspect. And so the way we develop this idea of responsive cities is that at the beginning was just a hypothesis, it was just a theory. So we needed to explore it through different technologies that we were developing. How can we make the citizen more active and more involved in the whole development of the city? And to be able to do that, we developed a massive open online course that ran for 4 years, since 2014. And the idea was to bring the first series of urban MOOCs, massive open online courses worldwide, to not only teach and show and present the latest innovations in urban planning, but it was also to engage the people more into the development of their own cities and make them also participants. So how this worked is that we had 4 different topics. Starting with the idea of the first one was future cities, the second one was livable cities, the third one was smart cities, and the last one going to the responsive cities. But this was not a normal online MOOC or an online course. The idea was not only to present the knowledge that we had, but also get some insights and do some research on how we can develop this idea. So it actually ran or is running still in the edX platform. And we actually reached 117. This screenshot was taken yesterday. So we have reached 180,000 participants around the world, with a mean average age of 30 years old, and within 168 countries around the world, the main being the United States, India, and Brazil. So how we started this idea of the Future Cities MOOC, we started, as I mentioned before, in 2014, and the idea was just to do a normal online course, the first one, where you can see the presenter presenting and just some activities, some exercises throughout the course. And then in this part, we started gathering information from the people, like more as a crowdsourcing activity, but not really doing much about not doing more about it. Then afterwards, we jump into the livable cities, and in this idea, we wanted to develop a little bit more and interact more with the people around the world, and we created more like a gaming strategies and online tools where we can engage more with the people, and also asking questions about the idea of livable cities and what they see, what was the ideal livable city and the different criteria they see. And then we gather information about every continent, what were their main criteria about livability, and this was actually a very interesting insight because for every continent it was completely different. Then we jumped into the smart cities, and here we wanted to elaborate a little bit more into the concept of how we can involve more the people. And we develop even more tools where we not only gather information and data from them, but we also engage them in a more we could compare the different aspects. Then in the next, we also develop. Sorry, we also developed another different tool that was more a modeling tool, an online tool, where people also could. We gave them like a design problem, and people could design their own solutions themselves, and then afterwards they could vote and they could see what other people were replying. And then here we jumped into the responsive cities idea, where we developed a little bit more the different tools, and we developed more the tool of the modeling tool, but more in a more participative way. So people can start commenting on other people's solutions for the problem and designs, and they can start interacting, voting between each other, and then it became a more intuitive and interactive process within cities around the world, which was quite impressive. And they could also see the different solutions, like as you can see here. And then the idea that we ended up with was the idea of a citizen design science. So this was a concept that we further developed even more. So the citizen design science concept comes from hard sciences. Actually, it comes from citizen science. And we added the design part because it's within the whole process of designing new cities. So how it works is that we have the participation, we have the online tools, which makes the citizen science. Then we have the design part and the participation part, which is the citizen design. And with all of this, we can integrate all of these different concepts and create the idea of citizen design science. And this is how the whole process developed. At the end of this whole course, it ran for 4 years, and at the end we wrote a book about it, so you can also have more information about all of the findings and all of the different results of this research. And if you want to know more, you can download it for free in iTunes, and you can have a look. So thank you so much. And I think I see you in a moment for the questions.